All right, welcome to the What Do You Think podcast. I'm Tyler,
I'm Jacob.
and this is just a podcast where two friends were really struggling to hang out and just have a conversation. So we were like, why don't we just record it?
Now it's on the schedule.
Yeah, now we schedule it and it's in our calendars, and we run frantically. Like this morning, I got up at like 7:30, jumped in the shower quick, and then ran to the bank to then find out that they're no longer open on Saturdays. Crushed.
Oh,
Absolutely crushed. I was just like, brother. So I ran all the way over there for nothing, but it's okay.
yeah.
So yeah, how's your week?
Pretty good. Didn't really do anything interesting, just normal stuff. How about you?
I would say there was some interesting stuff, some stuff that I don't want to talk about yet. I'll tell you after the pod, but I just don't want to put it out there yet. And I mean, we talked about pride and ego last week, and it was really interesting because one of the funny things I find about when I am in a prideful season is that I'm like, oh, I don't have pride, and I don't think about it. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like bawling my eyes out because the Lord hit me with, why don't you think you need me? And I was just crushed in that moment. And so I cried at work for like 2 hours until my boss called me. And I was like wiping tears and like sniffling. And I was like, hello, trying to sound normal. Yeah. So that was really good. And also was super convicted about going to volleyball on Fridays. We have a men's group that meets at like 9 p.m. on Fridays, which is really good for like people our age. So we're not like going to the bars and drinking and stuff. But it's all like a bunch of dudes that are like 50 plus. And and I used to go to it, but I was feeling really convicted that I hadn't been going to it because volleyball, I love playing volleyball, but it's also at 7:30 until midnight on Friday nights. And the men's group goes until like 11 p.m. So I'd been going to volleyball and not the men's group. And needless to say, after had that encounter with God on Thursday, I think it was Thursday, went to the men's group Friday, and it was great. I needed it. There was so much wisdom in that room because they have walked with the Lord for longer than both of you and I have been alive.
Yeah.
And they're so accommodating is not the right word, but they're so good at giving even the younger guys in the room, because Jack was there too, because he was going to go to volleyball, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going. So he was like, all right, I'll go. But they're so good at giving us the opportunity to speak and to share. And it's so good because it's like another man's perspective. And so you get to learn how to deal with some of these things in the world, but also how to apply a lot of the principles that were taught. Like we looked it up. There's 613 commands that the Lord gave the people in the Old Testament. Guess how many's in the New Testament?
How many?
1,050.
Oh my.
So we sat there and tried to name them, and we named about 40.
Wow.
Yeah. That's just in the New Testament.
Huh.
That is great. Well, add the Gospels.
People always say the Old Testament was very strict and rules based, but I think Jesus just expanded on that. But it's not about the rules now. It's interesting.
Yeah, the commands are not invalidated in the Old Testament because Jesus came. He just expanded on them and showed us that it's less about the actions, but it's more about the heart, the intent. You know, he talks about the outside of your cup is clean, but the inside is filthy. And so that, I think in modern day terms, he's talking about character.
Yeah.
So that was very revelation revolutionary.
Revelatory? Is that the word?
I don't know. What is the word? Uh, that was my revelation for the week. And,
Cool.
we talked about like two parallel lines, right? If they're just slightly off, you will never notice on your computer screen, like 1 pixel off. Okay. Very slight. But over time, those lines are much further and further and further apart. And I was like, that's how I've been feeling with God and I's relationship. Like, I feel like I've been doing all the things, but I just feel like the lines are so far apart. And I keep asking and seeking and praying, and I'm just not getting anywhere. And I realized last night that it's because I was doing the things to do the things instead of, I was checking the boxes instead of making my flesh comply to my spirit, making my heart comply to the heart of God. So hopefully we're back on track there. I think last night we took a really hard left turn to get back to God's line, if you will, since we're using the example of parallel lines. So it's crazy how much more joy I have today. It's weird. Wow. It's literally a straight 180.
That's cool.
Did you see me at youth on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday was a real rough day.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like almost the bottom.
Wow.
So I don't know if I look or carry myself any different tangibly, but yeah. I feel like it. Yeah. Any revelations with God? Any encounters?
Oh, man.
You said you were running.
Yeah, I've been running. That's been good for my health. Something I've been thinking about is planning for my future, how I'm supposed to do that in a Christ-like way. Because so much of me wants to be like setting really, really concrete goals, like
right.
Married by, it was always married by 25, kids by 30, but now I'm 24 and it's not looking good.
Hey, bro, I've seen crazier stuff happen.
So, or like setting financial targets or setting, just any sort of goal. It's like, how do I set these goals or plan for my future without it being like a negative spiritually? Like, I don't want to be saying I'm going to do this and then God just redirects my path. Cause I've done that in the past. Like I've set plans. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then God just completely redirects me. And
naturally.
It's usually in my life, it's fine. Like I can go with the redirection and it's great. But sometimes it's like, why do I make this plan if it's going to be switched anyway? I don't know. It's just complicated planning. Because the Bible says man will make plans or something like that, but the Lord will direct his steps.
Yeah, the phrase is like man sets his plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I saw a great picture. I should have saved it, but it was talking about controllables and uncontrollables. You can control who you spend your time with. You can control how you react. You can control your self-talk. You can control what you speak, how you speak about others. And you can control what you think about. There's 5 things inside the controllable circle. And so if you really think about it, and that's what I was doing looking at this picture, is like, so those 5 things were in your circle, right? And then everything else was outside of the circle. And I think that's what the verse is pointing to. It's like we have so little control over what actually happens, right? Because like you set a plan for the day, and then your sister calls you, because we both have sisters, and she got in a car accident. Your whole day changed in a phone call. And we pray that that doesn't happen, but it is a reality. One of the most dangerous things you can do is get in your car. And so I think it's important to learn how to pivot like my morning shower prayer, outing myself, is for the first 2 words I try to speak is good morning, Jesus. And then the second thing is me going through what I think is going to happen through the day and then ending it with, but God, be it your will over mine.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I have to learn to pivot. That's a good one. Sometimes I just don't know necessarily what to pivot to. Like there's an
Hit that
uncertainty.
crossroads.
Yeah. And I don't know how much control I should be trying to exert on certain situations. Like if to take the married by 25 example, hypothetically, I could take a very business-like approach. Like I've been reading about Jeff Bezos and
Like marrying for the money. Is that
no,
what you
no,
mean?
no.
Oh, okay.
Like Bezos took a mathematical approach to his dating. Like
really?
he started going to ballroom dancing and he had like an equation for like how he would interact with more women if he went ballroom dancing.
I can see it.
And one of my favorite books, Four Disciplines of Execution, talks about lead measures and lag measures. So lag measures are the results, the measurable things that you can see.
Okay.
The lead measures are the things that you do, the inputs. So if we're talking about dating, the outcome is like finding a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The input is whatever you think might get you closer to that thing, or give you more chances to get that. So I'm like, okay, do I need to, if this is what I want and this is a goal to get married, then should I be setting up plans to like, okay, it's a numbers game. I just need to interact with more people, make more friends.
Yep.
And so on. And then it's like, okay, I could just go to all the young adult Bible studies in town. I could work on my extroversion.
There's a pickleball group we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like pickleball? I don't remember.
I do.
Yeah. You should join the group. I'm not actually in it. Taylor got Sid and I in the group, or at least tells us when they're playing pickleball in the group. And we went and it was a ton of fun because it's like all different skill levels.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple guys at our church that are just ridiculously good. And it's really hard for somebody to like learn because they play at such a high level because they played it for many, many, many more hours than the next guy. And so it's hard to keep up with them. But the group that we're in, I mean, there's people like them that will play down, but there will also, there's beginners that have never held a pickleball paddle and try and hold it with the wrong end, which it's not literally, I'm just using that as an example. But it was great. I learned so much, and I wouldn't say I got good, but like, I feel like I could probably keep up with a couple guys at our church.
Yeah. So a lag measure in pickleball would be,
okay.
That would be like getting points, scoring against your opponent. But the lead measure would be practicing your swing. And if you practice your swing 50 times a day, then your points go up 1%. So something like that.
So it's like the 10,000 hours principle.
Something like that. Like obviously you put in more work, you get more out.
Right.
But the point of the book was talking about you can't always predict the lag measure, like what you can't always predict the result, and you can't control the result,
right?
But you can control the input, and then you can find the right input that produces or gets you closer to that output.
Okay.
So if I find the right input, for example, for finding a relationship, then it's just socialize. Not really my thing. I don't love doing that. But if that's my goal, like, does it make sense, or should I just say, this is my goal, and then I'm going to do this, and try to make that happen?
Right.
Or should it be more like, and this is what I think a lot of Christians do regarding relationships, is just, God will put the right person in my path, and I'm just going to be patient while we both are getting prepared, or whatever the phrasing is.
So basically, you're increasing your odds, but not guaranteeing the result, right?
Yeah.
By increasing your inputs. Um, and then the second thing is it's hard for God to put somebody on your path if you're in the woods.
That's a good
You know what
point.
I mean? I just think back to like my pre-Jesus days, and I had like the same thought of like, and it was much more raunchy. Let's, and I'll try and keep this as not neutral. There's nothing neutral. As PG as possible. But basically, I kind of came to that same realization of like, oh, wait, if I just interact with more women, hypothetically, I have better odds of finding somebody that I'm compatible with long term. And needless to say, we just went for it. And it worked. I got much better at socializing with them because I I was never good at talking to the other gender, we'll call it. I am talking about them so oddly. Uh, I was never good at talking to girls. And some of it was because I wanted to be, and I knew that I wanted to be better at it. So then I was nervous. And it like produced this weird, like, cyclone effect where I just kept going round and round. Um, But when I decided, I was like, okay, it's just a numbers game. And it sounds terrible, but I just reduced them to a number, like each interaction. My skills improved, but the quality of interactions dropped significantly. And, yes, I had better odds. You could say, like, you got to sort, like, to find the needle in the haystack, you got to sort through the hay to find the needle, right? Yes, but I think there's also like calculations you can do because if you're looking for one needle in a haystack, I mean, you can say like, oh, well, I'll find the needle in the smaller haystack, right? Than the one that's the size of a house. I don't know where I'm going with this. Just bear with me. Uh, so like you could narrow down like what are you into? What are things that you would like to see in your future wife and find where those people are. And because like for both of us, and I'm engaged, so I did not find my soon to be wife at the bar. You probably won't either, right? So you could just knock that haystack off and you don't have to even try there.
Yeah, I assume I'll find my lady at church, but I feel like I know most of the people at this church. Probably not though. I'm sure there's some I don't, but
I thought I knew my fiance, and then we started dating, and I was like, you are a whole different person. And it was like so cool.
hmm,
Like it's crazy how the relationship develops over time because you kind of like walking around, you're always kind of like protecting yourself in a sense. You're not 100% vulnerable and the weird, quirky things don't come out. But when you're dating for a while, then they do. And I'm just as weird and quirky too. But those things don't come out unless you're with a certain like subset of people that are really close to you because it's like a two-way street. You've developed trust and confidence around them to be that person because you know that they're going to love you and accept you for who you actually are instead of just who you are in that moment, right? You don't have some status to withhold. Like back in my pre-Jesus days, I was the life of the party. I was the kid doing the wild, crazy stuff. Like, random example, took a drink of something and then spit it back out and lit it. So I was like spitting fire. I have a video of it. It's kind of cool. But I was like that kid that was doing the crazy stuff. And so every time I went to a party with a group of friends, I felt like I had to uphold that. But now with the group of friends that I have around me, I'm just myself. Like, that's it. You just get the raw, real version. I mean, there's some things that you probably won't ever see me do because that's just for my fiance and me, but
what do you think about the idea of being yourself. Like, for me, I don't even really know what that means. Like, who am I? I don't know. It's like,
You learn with other people.
yeah, I know I have tendencies and a personality that's um in some
Mm-hmm.
like I have my ways in certain areas, but
We all do.
I'm also flexible and I'm still young. So it's like
Yeah.
people just say, be yourself. Well, what does that mean?
I'm still
Lazy?
developing myself.
Maybe I'm naturally a little bit lazy.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean be lazy.
Right.
Be yourself. Okay. Well, I'm on the shyer, more introverted side. Does that mean just be introverted and just live it out and whatever? That's just who you are.
I wouldn't call you shy or introverted. I would say you're just more methodical or analytical.
Yeah.
Like you like to see and understand and have a grasp on what's happening before you enter. I wouldn't call that shy. I would just call that calculated.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I
I
don't
might
think
have
that's bad.
outgrown the shy term. Maybe as a kid I was, but nowadays not so much.
Which I would say is you have massively just from the time that we met to now. Like it's been really cool to watch you grow. Just because like I think at some point in everybody's lives where we get hurt by something or we think the world goes around a certain way and then we find out it doesn't. And so you kind of like shrink back because you're like, ouch, that hurt. I think everybody kind of goes through that. But seeing you kind of like start to step into more of who God wants you to be, like leading the Bible study, like that's a big task. I tried it for like 3 weeks and couldn't do it. And then you stepped into it and you've been crushing it for months. Are you over a year now into it?
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go. Point made.
Yeah. Yeah. But what does it mean to be yourself? I don't know. That's an overthinking situation.
Just go. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
I think
Like, what do you like? What you want to go run? Go run.
there's definitely times when you notice like, oh, this person likes this type of thing. And then you kind of chameleon into trying to
fit in with them.
But it's like sometimes, and you can be nice about it and be like, try to have a nice conversation and relate with them. But that doesn't mean pretend. Like you don't have to pretend.
I think a lot of people chameleon into things. And I would say 2 reasons. They may really like that person. And so they want to spend more time with them and be around them. Or they have no experience in that subject. We'll just use pickleball for a reference. So we're like, oh yeah, I like pickleball because you have no idea what it is. You think you might like it, like you're into sports, you're athletic.
I like pickles.
Me too, brother. Clausen pickles, by the way, so good. They're like garlic and obviously dill, but they're so good.
Where do you get those?
Walmart.
Okay.
Or well, I mean any grocery store, but they're like they're usually somewhere else than like all the other pickles. But they are so good. Are you looking them up?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
That looks familiar.
Yep. You got to get the spears though. Spears are what's up.
Yep.
But so you may identify with the pickleball squad because you don't know anything about it, but you want to learn. And that's a good thing. I wouldn't say that's bad. I would say that's totally okay. We're having a few technical difficulties over here today. What is happening?
Noise?
Oh, it's gone. Don't touch it. Anyway, yeah, I think at times it's okay to be a chameleon. What we're calling being a chameleon is really somebody just willing to try something that they've never tried to do before. And sometimes we can, the non-athletic kind of nerdy kid getting into pickleball, which is a pretty athletic sport, or running or weightlifting. That's okay. Like he might like it. What's wrong with that? Like We gotta, as a society, we gotta become more okay with somebody crossing the lines that they were born in, you know?
Yeah, it's cool to try new things. It's cool to um, be a beginner. You don't
Mhm.
always have to start something and be amazing at it naturally.
And I think at our age, we're beginners at everything. So
Yeah.
it's much easier for us to go down these different like avenues and not have any weight strapped to us, because it's like I have no experience and I'm young. Nobody's expecting a whole lot of us. And like the whole like people tell us younger generation to just be yourself. We don't even know what that is, like you were saying,
Yeah.
because we haven't lived a life long enough to figure it out. It takes time to develop that character. And then even over time, your character or yourself is still developing and changing. Like the only constant that you can count on is that it's going to change. It's going to be different. And that's okay.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Be yourself.
What are your thoughts? How do I word this? What are your thoughts on the superstars of specific things? Like my mind is just going to there's a quadruple amputee that uh, is like a cornhole competitor. Uh, he shot somebody, so or
I heard
I
he
guess
got convicted of murder or
yeah,
something
there
like
we go.
that.
That's a better way to say that. I don't want to flag the pod. Um, but that's news. So like, how do you not talk about anyway? Um, yeah, got convicted of murder or charged with murder. I don't know if they've had the trial yet.
I don't know.
So he's charged with it. Um, but he was good at cornhole, right? And so it's like, what are your thoughts on how do you get to that level, right? Because we're talking about how we can find all these different avenues. How do you figure out which avenue you're supposed to go down?
Oh, that's tough. I think most of the people who are the best in their field, they started working on it from the very beginning. So they're
Mm,
natural, like from childhood when your brain is the most elastic and you have the most, you're learning the fastest and you have a lot of time. People are already getting into trying to develop those skills,
right.
especially like sports or whatever. But then I think people, if you want to be the best, it's hard to do that with having balance in your life.
Mm,
Like if you're going to be a CEO,
mm-hmm,
it's not easy to have work life balance.
mm-hmm.
Like Elon Musk isn't like, oh, I got to take a couple weeks off to go and hang out with my
Yeah.
family.
You're going to see a couple of rockets falling out of the sky.
Yeah. Like I've heard of even CEOs, if the public finds out they got a girlfriend
Oh, yeah.
or a boyfriend,
Who was
the stock goes
who
down.
who was the CEO that got caught at the baseball game?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, I can't.
But he was married.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what I'm saying is if a single man gets a girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
while he's a CEO, the stock of the publicly traded company might go down because they're like, oh, now he's distracted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never thought about
It's
that.
kind of crazy, but it's hard to be the very, very best if you have balance because
Yeah.
there's always somebody who's out there willing to not have balance. So that's another thing to go back to making plans. It's like I was very competitive and always wanted to be the best. And that's not really my goal anymore because
Mm-hmm.
that would require certain things that I don't think I want to pay.
Mm, yeah. The price to be the best is very high.
Yeah.
Um, I, I I can relate to that just from a business standpoint, starting my own business and then realizing like, oh, I have to make this my whole life. Like I used to joke about like, yeah, it's my dog, it's my girlfriend, it's my kid. Like it literally becomes that for you. Now, some people young in life, when they don't have any of that, elevate their business to a point where then they can ride it out and still be like a good father. I just didn't get there that fast. So now I almost have to wait until after kids, which is okay. I've come to terms with that because in this upcoming season, I really need to focus on being a father. But the amount of attention and care that being the best requires, we really got to start taking a step back and looking at the long-term effects of those sacrifices. Like, you probably see all these they're not influencers, they're streamers, and they're like doing all this crazy wild stuff, even YouTubers. And it's like, but for what? It's temporary. Like when you die, you don't take it with you. Yeah, you might give it to your kids. What happens when they die? They don't take it with them either. And it's like, is that cost? Is those decades of your life worth it? And that was a question I came to with my business. I was like, it's not. Yeah, it'd be great to have additional financial freedom and worldly success. Yeah, that'd be cool. Drive around in a sports car, show up to church in a Lamborghini. It's cool. And, the kids, that's their dream car coming up to you. That's cool. Having a big stock portfolio. That's cool. But when everybody leaves the room at the end of the day, it's like, well, now what? That's where I got to. And that's where I realized like it's not about being the best, and that's okay. At least that's not the priority for me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist, so it's hard. And I rebuke that label. How about that? But I have perfectionistic tendencies, and I've grown a lot more recently in the past few years of kind of pushing down those desires to just make something perfect because I've had to in my role if I'm doing. Is that water no good?
Shout out Element for making the best drink powder.
Is it the spicy?
It's salty. Oh. I just tried the watermelon flavor, mixed it a little strong. Wowzers.
That's funny.
I probably should have shook it a little better, but
But anyway, in my role, I have to, if I'm producing a graphic for an event, for example, I can't sit there for 5 hours and work on that graphic and then present it to them. And then they're like, well, we don't really like this. And then I have to go back and redo it all from the beginning. So it's just too much time to be perfect. So I can't. So
it's not advantageous. Like you talk about the input for the outcome. I guess I'm just thinking about this, and this kind of just hit me. Hopefully it resonates for you. I was just thinking about like the amount of inputs that you have to put in to get your desired outcome. Like the scale is tipped really far. So your inputs are way up here, but the outputs of importance is way down here, I guess I could say. Or you could say, I think is the word. And I guess I would ask yourself a deeper question in those moments, like what's actually important to me? Getting everything done today or making this one thing absolutely perfect?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfection is the enemy of done or something like that. Good is that. What is the phrase?
I don't know that one.
Perfect is the enemy of good. I don't remember the phrase, but yeah, you're never going to reach perfection. You're never going to, and you can be the best, but sometimes it's good to be good enough. One thing at my middle school, we had like a little bulletin board, and our principal would put little sayings on there every so often to like motivational phrases or whatever. And one of them was good enough isn't good enough.
Right.
And that's something that was repeated a lot. Good enough isn't good enough. And I like the sentiment, but I took that a little too far to being like good enough isn't good enough. Sometimes good enough is good enough.
Well, and I think some of that goes into like grace too. 'Cause like we're not God, so we are not perfect. So even if we think it's perfect, there's still things about it that could be better. right? And we just may not realize it in the moment. And furthermore, part of the fact of being a human, like look at the president. We could have a perfect president. Not saying we do now or have before, but we could have a perfect president, and there's still going to be a subset, a group of people that are like, he's awful or she's awful.
Yeah,
Like
every
I mean, that's
president's
just
about half the population hates them.
right. Well, depends on this where they're polling from, but we won't get into that. But yeah, it's just how it always is. And I think that's where grace has come in for me, of realizing like I can, because what happens in my walk trying to live like Christ, right, is I try to hunker down on the self control and grab myself so hard that I can't move. So then I don't make a mistake. But in doing that, I can't move. So not moving, I make a mistake.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, I'm still learning this. By no means have it figured out, but learning that it's okay if mistakes are made because you can learn from them. Something happened the other day. I want to say it was at work, and I tried something and it didn't work, and they were like, "Why would you try that?" And I was like, "Well, because if I didn't try anything, I wouldn't know at all. But I at least tried, and it didn't work, so I know not to do that again." They thought it was a dumb logic, and I'm really curious what you guys think about that logic. If it's okay to try even though it might not work out, or what your thoughts are on that. Um, but I found it, look at Thomas Edison with the light bulb. He found 10,000 ways. And actually they think it's probably more because of all the ones that all the slight tweaks that he didn't actually document and it didn't work. Either way, he found all those ways not to do it. And then he found one to do it. And that's okay. Like, we learn from our failures. You're going to fail throughout the entirety of your life, right? You're going to push out media thumbnails and you're going to be like, it's perfect. And then it's going to get posted and then somebody's going to send it to you. And I'm going to have 8 fingers on one hand. And you're going to be like, huh, how did that happen? And it wasn't perfect. And that's okay. We don't have to be. God never asked us to be, because he is. And I guess that's where I just land in those moments, remembering that I don't have to be perfect because he is. He has put our transgressions as far from us as the east is from the west, right? Psalm 103:12, I think. I'm pretty close. It's in the Psalms, in the hundreds of Psalms. And so that's where I give myself grace, but it's also enough grace. Like, do you ever get, what do they call it? It starts with a P, I think. Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, when I'm when I remember to give myself grace, because I can't be perfect and I don't have to be perfect. And I honestly think like just being real and raw and wrong is okay, and honestly better at times. I think being like that and giving myself grace in those moments actually helps me to move forward anyway, right? To go try anyway. Because I have a different issue where I'll just be like, well, there's grace given if I screw it up. And I'll just run full steam ahead into a brick wall and smoke my head. And then I'm like, huh, that hurt a lot. So I'm like on the other end where I got to like slow myself down a little bit and analyze just a smidge more.
Yeah. With that grace piece, something I've learned also is to be able to forgive yourself. Because if Jesus will forgive you, who are you to not forgive you?
Yeah, it's almost like you're throwing him, you're like spitting on him on the cross. And when you put it in those terms, it's like, oh, I didn't want to do that. Or like you drive another nail in his hand when you do that. Like I had that. That was part of my revelation when I was crying at work was, oh, I became so prideful that I thought that your grace, your forgiveness wasn't good enough for me, and then I had to prove it. I had to earn it. I needed to show you that I deserve it. But none of that's true. You don't. You can't earn it, for one. You don't deserve it, and that's okay. Like, because I went way far on the deep end of like, I don't deserve anything. Yeah.
How do you extend that grace, knowing that you're not going to be the best, you're not going to be perfect, you have to forgive yourself, to somebody like, thinking ahead, your fiance, soon to be wife?
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess maybe how do you differentiate that between someone you might be dating? Like, if you're dating, there's still that exit. Like, you can technically say, I think this is not going to work.
I mean, dating was a construct developed in the 1950s, but we don't have to go there today.
Yeah, so that's assuming that the dating model is even
accurate
or worthwhile. But it's like,
how do you extend that grace to your significant other?
Yeah, because when you're dating somebody and they do something that's like, yikes, I don't like that action that they did. First of all, when you're married, you have to figure out a way to work with it. Like, how you have to forgive, you have to give grace, and you have to do that even when you're dating, but you don't have to necessarily stick around with that person.
Right.
So what's the balance between dealing with that with other humans, and especially with something I always fear a little bit is when I do get married, hopefully, because I have these perfectionistic tendencies toward myself, if I extend those,
you're casting those expectations onto them.
Project those, that's something I do not want to do, where I start expecting them to be perfect, or having unreasonable expectations for them, and then building a resentment if they don't live up to whatever I construct in my mind.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to, and I have a fear that that piece would also keep me from potentially finding a wife, is having these too high of standards. But also, I don't want to just remove all standards and just say anything goes, whatever.
Right.
What do you think?
What do you guys think? That was a good plug at the end there. My thoughts, not saying I'm right. This is just what I'm slowly learning, is it's less about finding somebody that fits you right. I used to think like you got to find, like, you're a puzzle and you got to find the like other half of the puzzle, right? Not true. I think it's more about finding somebody that is equally willing to lay down their differences just as you are and say, you know what? Like, think of it 80-20. You're going to love 80% of the person you get into a dating relationship with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be interested in dating them. The other 20% is going to drive you up a wall. And it's both of you being, because she has that too about you, believe it or not, as hard as that is to swallow. I think it's about both of you sitting there and saying, you know what, the 80% is a good enough reason to ignore the 20% and say, I love you anyway. And I think that is love. Love is the choice, right? Love is continuing to pursue, even though you may not agree, you may not wish to, even though times are hard, right? We talked about it a little bit at men's night too. So I think that's number one. Number two, dealing with something that your significant other does that you really don't like. First of all, communicate. Tell them. But how you deliver that is very, very important on both sides of the fence. We can sit here as men and say, well, they're emotional. They should have. No. It is our fault if we did not communicate it correctly to them, because they are our audience. We are the speaker. A third grade teacher does not talk to her students the same way she talks to her boss, because she is the speaker and the students or her boss is the audience. She articulates the way that she's talking. Therefore, we need to do the same. So we got to stop blaming them for everything from a communication standpoint. There kind of needs to be almost like a protection of, because we know that they are more emotionally wired, and that's okay. But we need to take that into consideration when we communicate with them and not just treat them like a bro.
I've learned this with my mom where
Yeah.
I don't know what the things are that we'll talk about, but she'll get so upset sometimes about the way I deliver what I'm saying. She's like, "You're right, but I don't like the way you say it," or something like that. And that's been a challenge. That's something I've learned and gotten better
Yeah.
at for sure, is delivering, not just saying what I think is true with the most bluntness, but trying to deliver it in a kind way.
So communicating how, like, whatever they did made you feel, and this goes for both sides of the fence. You know, if it's the girl in the relationship talking to the guy, I think you can't ignore it, right? Like if you think about like a brick wall, how did you start building a brick wall? With one brick. I'm not a masonry guy, but I imagine you start with one brick, and then all of a sudden you have a wall. Well, the same thing happens when you avoid communication in a relationship. You just avoided that one conversation. Maybe they didn't put the dirty dishes in the right hand side of the sink. Maybe they put them in the left hand. But when you do the dishes, the left hand is where the clean dishes go. Me personally, I don't think a sink should have a divider. I think it's just, it makes no sense. Anyway, that's something very small. You just move the dishes over. However, not saying anything will build up over time. And then before you know it, life goes on. You have kids. They turn 18. They move out of the house. Now you're 25 years into marriage, and you're sitting across from them on the couch, and you look at them and you have no idea who they are because you have built a wall, both of you, because the communication happens incorrectly on both sides, right? Once one person starts building bricks, the other person starts to feel that they no longer have the space to be able to communicate how something you did hurt them. Okay. So I strongly, my point number 2 is communicate the heck out of everything. Parking the car, if you're like, they didn't do that correctly. I mean, there's some hills that aren't worth dying on. But if it's really bothering you after a few hours, maybe you should bring it up.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson, I think in 12 More Rules for Life.
12 Essential Rules for Life.
His second.
12 More?
The second edition of 12 Rules for Life. One of the rules is do not hide unwanted things in the fog. So there might be something that drives you crazy or that you don't like. And if you just hide it away, then that doesn't help. Like you said, there's some things that are not worth
some hills that aren't worth dying on.
Yeah, it's just let it go. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But yeah, there's certain things that you want to, I'd say, over communicate rather than under communicate.
If what is the worst thing that happens if you over communicate? It's a longer conversation than it needed to be. What's wrong about that? So what? You spent an extra 2 minutes talking about the dishes in the sink. Is that really catastrophic to your day? If it is, you need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because ultimately, like, your marriage is second in the chain of importance. It is your faith, then it is you and your spouse, and then it is your kids. Right? I mean, that's the chain of importance. Yeah, that's my thoughts. The other thing I would say is if you run into a disagreement, she wants a blue car, but you really want a red car. This is where I revert back to the biblical principle of dying to yourself. And my fiance and I have gotten to the point now where we're both trying to die to ourselves faster. And it's like, it's a fun competition because then we realize how little of importance it is to us. Like, it doesn't really matter what color the car is. No. And then we're like, oh, but the white one's cheaper. So then we buy the white one, just an example. So I think that's important too in relationships and dealing with differences or things that you may disagree with, is realizing, like, is it really this big of a deal? Like, is it really going to affect us that much? Or is the 80% of that person that I like more important? Because reality is in the moment. After you buy that car, reality is people, I want to say, trade off cars every like 3 years, I want to say, on average. Or maybe that's houses. I think people switch houses every 3 years.
That's got to be,
it is
too frequent.
It is a crazy stat, though. It is crazy. Feel free to look it up. So really, it's not that important. There's going to be change, and that's okay.
Yeah, something I read, this book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It's about like split-second decisions when your unconscious makes up its mind before you do, and your conscious mind. He talks about a story where they analyzed couples and they just put them in a room, told them, discuss some contentious topic about your relationship for 30 minutes and then you're done. And they didn't tell them really what the study was about or what the deal was, but they analyzed how they talked with each other, and they had different emotions listed out in their analysis, and they had like timelines, like how long did they experience each emotion or project each emotion.
Yeah.
And so they had this long string of numbers to represent time and emotions for each person. And then based on those emotions and those conversations, they were trying to see what correlated with people getting divorced. And some of the happiest couples who seemed the most compatible or the most joyful around each other, you wouldn't expect it, but they didn't make it. And they found out that the most harmful emotion, or the biggest red flag in a conversation, is contempt. So
what's contempt? Sorry,
they said
dumb.
Basically it's belittling, not caring, thinking, puffing yourself up, lifting yourself up, and then just saying whatever about you. You're speaking down to the other person.
Belittling, almost.
Belittling. I should probably look up, define.
While you do that, can we take a pause for a bathroom break?
Yeah.
Our first pause. We'll be right back.
And we're back.
Can I clap? We never clapped in the beginning.
We can clap now.
Perfect. We forget we're just a couple of bimbos.
I don't know what that word means. I don't think that's a good word.
It sounded good.
I don't think that's right.
Oh man, I feel like we've been going so serious.
Okay, let's
long.
Try again, just in case.
Bimbo?
No.
Oh,
I mean, like, if we want to cut it here.
Oh, we're cutting it?
Maybe.
You do your thing. I don't know what's happening.
And we're back.
Hey.
Okay.
We're just... Oh, man. Okay. I don't know why I'm laughing. We're still back. It's okay. It's real.
Okay, we
can leave it in.
All right. Contempt is the feeling or act of regarding someone or something as inferior, worthless, or beneath respect.
Oh.
And
so that's the red flag.
That's the number one biggest red flag. The others are defensiveness, which is seeing oneself as a victim or warding off perceived attacks. Stonewalling, which is withdrawing from the interaction and shutting down communication. And criticism, which is attacking a partner's character rather than a specific behavior. So those are calls it the four horsemen of I don't remember. Yeah, it just says the four horsemen, but and the point of the book, like I said, is something split second, something really quick that your subconscious is able to determine something. And the guy who was conducting these studies, it says he was able to predict with like 98% accuracy or something crazy which couple was going to get divorced after just hearing them talk for 30 seconds.
So are the four horsemen bad characteristics?
Those are the worst, yeah.
That lead to divorce happening.
Yeah. And it got to the point where they were able to even like extract some of the frequencies from their voice. So you can't even hear the words that they're saying. You can just hear the intonations. And you can just from that say, yeah, that's not good.
So you can determine the health of the relationship by the frequency. You don't even need to know what words are being said.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think specifically in the book, he was talking about not the relationship piece, but about doctors who are most likely to get sued for malpractice.
Oh.
There's no correlation between how often a doctor messes up and how often they get sued for malpractice. It's entirely correlated with how they interact with the patient, how likable they are. So I think that was the situation where they extract all of the frequencies that allow you to understand words, and they just play the intonations for somebody, and they're like, yeah, I don't like that, the way he said that, or he doesn't sound as caring.
Yeah. So if he had better personal or better, like more likable qualities about him, was better at communicating with people.
If he cared more, that's the big one. Does he care?
Did he care, or does he have to act like he cares more in the room?
But even if he acts like he cares and it comes across like he cares, they're less likely to be sued for malpractice. Interestingly. And when it comes to relationships, something that was mentioned was positive emotion override. So you might be having a conversation and maybe your wife says, shut up. If you have positive emotion override, you'll think, okay, I'm really upsetting her and she's having a moment. And so I should be quiet and let her say whatever she wants to say. If you're having negative emotion override, you're like, wow, she's just the worst. What is she doing? This is crazy. This is awful. She's a bad person. So positive emotion override is really the way you want to stay in a relationship.
What about, and maybe you're going to get to this, but what about where you don't have any emotion override in the moment because you're trying to understand? I guess that would be more positive.
Yeah, that would not be negative emotion override.
Not be negative.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because that's what I typically lean to, is like if something like that does happen, and honestly, we haven't ran into something like that. There's definitely been times where I've crawled under her skin. Yeah, gotten under her skin. That's what I'm looking for. Poked her buttons, and she is just not pleased with me in the moment. Usually I step back and I'm like, okay, why is that? And then I'm like, okay, I'll just lay off for a little bit.
So like that's positive emotion override. Down. That's healthy.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
But
I feel like I'm talking to a doctor. You know a lot.
But I'm just thinking about, like, to kind of bring it back to the original question, is like, I definitely want to develop as much positive emotion override, as little contempt, as little stonewalling, those things. And I want to make it work in whatever relationship, even with friends. I want to be able to make it work. But I don't know. It's just hard to discern at what point it's like, maybe we shouldn't keep trying to make it work. Maybe it just doesn't work.
Morals and ethics. I think the rest can be sorted out.
Yeah, values.
Yeah.
Values. It's interesting.
Well, and we're starting marriage counseling soon. Not in a bad way, in a good way, to better prepare us for the path ahead. And one of the example questions that we both talked about was, I feel that God's calling me to move to New York for business. She feels that God is calling her to Illinois to work at headquarters. Who's right? You're married. You can't go different places.
That's so tough because, and I wonder about this too, because the Bible, I think it's Ephesians 5, says, wives, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord, and husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
It also says,
so Jesus, how did he love the church? He died for the church.
Correct.
That's a different level. So it's, it's like, as the man, you want to have headship and you want to have the wife who submits, but also as the man, you're supposed to lay down your life. So it's like, what do you do? That's a good question.
Well, I think the world will listen to that verse and be like, well, I need a wife that just does whatever I say. Well, that's your ego talking, because that's not real. Okay, she is a person too, with feelings, emotions, thoughts, and, to be honest, a wisdom as well as you do. I think it also in Proverbs, it says a man who heeds the wisdom of his wife will be blessed. I think that's also a proverb. And so again, this is where we have just resorted to constant communication. I want to say a couple in our church ran into this very example, and they prayed through it, and they realized, like, okay, well, I was wrong. I was feeling this way because of these factors. And they're pushing me in this direction. But I do think that you're hearing from God, and he has told me the same thing, that, we need to move to New York. That's not the example. I'm just giving it, or it's not what they were wrestling with, but it's the example I give. And so they moved in that direction. And I think that's where, again, it's important to constantly communicate or over communicate. I think that's okay. But I also think it's important to go back to the Father, because he's leading you both. You are in a covenant when you're married under God first. The piece of paper you sign for the government is completely irrelevant. That's just whatever. But you are under a covenant with God. God is not going to lead two of his children that are equally yoked down different paths. Maybe different career paths, or she's a stay-at-home and he's off at work. Well, that's because of what happened in the garden, but that's a different story. But that's not what's going to happen. So somebody's probably emotionally invested. It may be a little bit out of spite, and that's okay. That is okay. That's why you have that open line of communication. So that way you can talk about those things. Some of it may be, you're fond of New York because of the Big Apple and all the noise around it. And you like a big city. That's where you always grew up. And she grew up in a small town in a farming community, and that's more Illinois. So you have to look at those factors and communicate through them to aid each other in understanding where you're coming from. And I still go back to, I don't see how God would lead two people in such vastly different directions when they're married. Like, you can work through those things, right? Because you made a covenant under God till death do us apart. Okay, well, there's your answer. Neither one of you are dead, so you're going together. And like with my business, I've had to make a lot of sacrifices in my life right now that I don't want to make. But I know that's my flesh. My flesh wants the business, the success, the fast, busy lifestyle where I'm the center of people's attention. But that's not Christ-like. And so that's where I've had to die to myself. And I wish she was here, because I know there are so many examples that she has where she has had to say, you know what? I'm just going to let go of this. I'm going to die to myself for this. but I think it's also important to recognize that, like, when you're the husband and the wife heeds your direction, I think it's also important to recognize that she is dying to herself and to give that recognition. I think that's so important. Because how quickly can we as men be like, oh, yes, I got my way. I was right. That's your pride again. That's your ego. We talked about it last episode. But that's not Christ-like. That's not how he would approach that. I think he would love. He would meet you with compassion, with grace, and with arms wide open, whatever the circumstance is, right? We're his children. He cares about us. He loves us deeply. It's important to remember that even in those moments of disagreement. It's hard. Believe me, it is way easier said than done. And it's okay to break in those moments. We've had it where I was crying because it was hard and it's not what I wanted, but it's what's best for both of us. And that is more deeper what I want, right? We always talk about God doesn't give us what we want. He gives us what we need. The reality is he does give us what we want. We do want what we need. We just don't see it in the moment because he has like a 10,000 foot perspective, right? He wrote the beginning from the end. So he knows where you're trying to get to at the end. And that's where like our deepest wants are the end, to be with him, to honor him, the pursuit of holiness, to have his perspective. And through that, in the now, because that's our deepest want, we're going to have to let go of the wants that we have right now because they aren't going to lead us there. Nobody said it was going to be easy. And I think that's a good thing, coming from a guy that did 75 hard, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. It's a Live Hard program for you guys that don't know. I thought that was the hardest thing to do. And then I tried to follow Christ. And I realized that is so much harder, but it's so much more rewarding. And guess what? It doesn't end at the end of the year. It keeps going. And it's so beautiful. Finishing thoughts on the pursuit of a life towards Christ. We'll wrap it up with that. You can wrap it up this time.
Finishing thoughts. Yeah, it's about putting aside your fleshly desires for sure. And I think that's why fasting is so important because it's about avoiding or not succumbing to the cravings that your body might have, putting those aside.
The Bible says when you fast and pray, not if you fast and pray.
Yeah. So learning to not be controlled by your cravings, learning to suffer well. That's a big one. I love hearing the stories in the Bible, like, yeah, I'll suffer, but it'll be good because then I'll be able to relate more with Jesus or something like that. Perseverance. I think I heard somewhere that early church, the number one thing they talked about was either patience or perseverance, something like that.
He who endures to the end. I believe it's in Matthew 13 or 14, or Mark 13 or 14. I just highlighted it in my Bible 2 days ago.
So it's not about gritting it out for a little bit and just trying to get through a short time frame, but doing it in a way that you can endure.
Was it David that waited 15 years
To become king.
To become king after God promised it to him.
It was a long time, yeah.
Like, and hopefully this helps you guys with any anxiety that you're dealing with. Like, we have to remember that God's promises are made on God's timetable. And we have to take up that perspective. It's hard because we want it now. We get excited. But we have to remember that there's things that he is ordering and organizing and setting in place and setting up so that we can glorify him in that promise. Kind of like you know, married by 25, kids by 30. There's stuff he's doing, he's working on. Maybe in you, maybe in her, maybe in your life circumstances. It's okay. He hasn't forgotten.
Yeah, patience, perseverance, self-sacrifice. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about today. What do you think about relationships, about pride? We kind of hit on that again. About how do you stay patient when you feel like you're not getting the result you want right away? How do you persevere? How do you plan things out in your life that in a way that is godly and allows you to still pivot even if he redirects you? Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Love you guys. See ya.
Bye.